Listen. I don't want y'all to get overly excited. Okay, I want y'all to calm down. It's important to me that you calm down. I refuse to make any promises in terms of this being a consistent thing. But I would be a liar if I said I didn't enjoy making last week's video and hearing from you guys again. Like, I got a whole bunch of really happy, wholesome comments from a whole bunch of you, and it was nice. It was nice. I know a lot of you don't like the new stuff I do on my other channels now. It's just not your speed, and that's fine. But, you know, it's not unreasonable for me to decide to occasionally drop in here again, talk about a game. And if I happen to be playing a game, maybe I'll record it and then talk about it later. I'm not going to say it's going to be consistent or a commitment to any significant extent, but maybe I'll try to do this a bit more. You know, just for the handful of you that I know like this. It's not a lot of time for me. Sometime, but not a lot. And today we're gonna talk about Maneater! Sharks! Dun 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 dun. Yeah, so this game came out all the way back in 2020. It was developed and published by Tripwire Interactive in association with Blindside Interactive. The game's production was actually led by a man named Alex Quick, who had worked on another game called Depth. That was a competitive multiplayer game in which players assumed control of either a shark or a diver as they fought each other. It was kind of similar to something like Evolve in that way. And that game's still available, and some people really like it, but it is considered pretty dead. There just aren't a lot of players, so you'll be against bots, so, you know, one of those deals. The development for Maneater kind of came about as an attempt to build off a single-player experience in Depth, but then evolved further into something on its own. It was going to be its own thing. They were heavily inspired by games like Jaws Unleashed, where basically you're a shark, and you run around and do shark things. And by shark things, I mean eat everybody! That's the whole thing. But they got pretty friggin' crazy with it, and made it so that you get all kinds of evolutions and ridiculous powers. Because the game is not a part of the Jaws license, that gave them a lot more creative freedom to just be insane. And honestly, for a game like this, I think that works, because I mean, you're playing as a shark eating people. This obviously isn't going to be the kind of game to take super-de-duper seriously. You might as well go full B-movie with it. And as such, that's exactly what they did. You get a whole bunch of different powers, like bone armor or bioelectricity, or a whole bunch of other stuff. If you get the DLC, you become a radioactive shark. And you play as a baby bull shark in the beginning. But you get very large, very quickly. And you're out on quest for revenge. Because you were cut from your mother, who was killed by a shark hunter. The shark hunter proceeds to scar you so he can identify you later. But you bite off his hand, which is a pretty reasonable reaction, and get a taste for human flesh. And you start out your quest becoming the dominant predator in the area, doing ridiculous nonsense like jumping out of the water and just kind of flopping along land and eating people. Like, it's... Listen, if a shark ever jumped on the beach and started eating everybody around it, like that's horrifying. But it isn't just humans you're after. You're also after their boats, because of course you are. But also you have to establish dominance in the undersea environments, because there's a whole bunch of other creatures that don't like their territory being infringed upon. But you gotta take them out, starting with things like alligators and moving up to larger prey like other sharks, orca whales, and even sperm whales. Visually, the game is nothing special, but it's fine. It's good enough, definitely. And the controls are surprisingly pretty good for what they are. And it's good fun swimming around, eating things, swimming around, eating more things, leveling up, getting more evolutions, becoming a crazy mutant shark, because technically you're supposed to be a bull shark, but you become not a bull shark anymore. You are something else entirely. You are a monster. But that's part of the fun. There are many different missions to accomplish, sometimes time trials, or just eat a whole bunch of people, or destroy a specific target. And exploring underwater can be decently fun. A big push was to make it open world, but be completely unique. And in that way, I think they definitely accomplished it. You have an open world to explore. It's not amazingly vast, but it's there. And it's fun getting new powers and fighting things and doing sorts of different moves and jumping out of the water and grabbing someone off a boat and dragging them to their horrific death. Naturally, the game is pretty freaking violent, but I mean, you're a shark. I don't know what you expected. But the time I spent with it, I actually quite enjoyed it. That being said, is it worth it to you? Are there any flaws? Well, I think the big issue is that the game does get very repetitive. There are only so many different moves and things they could get a shark to do beyond swimming and eating. And honestly, most of your tasks have something to do with swimming and eating. And in that way, it could become very, very tiring after a while. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on who you are, the game is not very long, even with the DLC. You can beat it in about 8 hours. I did it in 6. And you might be saying, well, that's not very much time to play, but also, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Any longer than that, and you would have gotten pretty bored of doing the same things over and over again. It's pretty obvious it didn't have much of a variety to add to the gameplay, so they kept the experience short and sweet, which is exactly what this game feels like. It also has a pretty overly comedic tone, because of the addition of a narrator, in the form of Trip Westhaven, who's a crazy conspiracy theorist, and says some pretty wild stuff most of the time. It's funny. It's a pretty funny game, and that on its own is pretty great, because again, it's not taking itself seriously. It's meant to be kind of a B-movie in a way, but in game form.
This begs the question, why do the extraterrestrial elite work so tirelessly to defend the water? Does water have some mystical significance in their unholy ceremonial rites?
And if you know what you're getting into, and understand this isn't going to be a AAA experience, you're in for a pretty fun time, because it is a fun game. That's exactly what I would call it. As far as whether it's worth it for you to play, I'd leave that in your ballpark. I suppose the best thing I could say is that if you've watched this video and listened to me talk, and think, that looks like a lot of fun, it probably will be for you. That's my answer. It probably will be fun for you, if you think this looks fun. That's what I thought when I first saw it. That looks like fun. And I bought the game. And it's fun. You know? That's about it. We don't have to get too much detail. There's not really much detail to get into. You're playing as a shark, a horrific, mutated shark. You gotta fight people. Yes! You ever see a shark bite somebody, then tail flip them into a target? That's terrifying, but you can totally do that. This game's ridiculous. But it's fun. And we need more of that in the gaming industry, I think. Just fun. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fun farewell.